It's usually hello and welcome to whatever episode number this episode is. This is a good one. We've got an epic watch along with the great Joe Feeneny. Really can't promote that enough. It's amazing. Then there's a debate about the top 5 Stone Roses songs. But really, you gotta check out that watch along. It really is something special. And then after that, we've got the great Pat Buck on. Now, if you don't recognise the name, Pat Buck used to host a podcast with Ryback. He's also worked for Impact Wrestling as an agent. He's also a promoter himself. So he's on talking the glorious wrestling. And speaking of wrestling, don't forget about that watch along with Joe Feeneny that comes up. It is unbelievable. Maybe the highlight of this podcast history. But first, plugs. Okay, don't forget that the show has a Patreon. If you want to support the show, that's what you click on. And don't forget to check out the other Creative Control shows. And don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to check out the audio version. All your good streaming sites, especially iTunes if you want to hear the uncensored version with song clips. Or if you listen to this on audio, don't forget to check it out on YouTube with Hughezy Entertainment. You get to see the visuals and exactly how zombie-eyed I actually am. But just a reminder, don't forget about that watch along coming up at the end. It's really good stuff. But first we're going to talk about Stone Roses. Paul, hello. Right, so Paul back for the third time.
Yep, it's good.
And this time we're doing Stone Roses. So tell me, what's your level of Stone Roses fandom?
My level? Well, I think it's pretty high. I went through a severe period of listening to them when I was like 15 to 18. I was crazy. It was crazy times. Crazy, you know. No, I used to love them. Still do, obviously. Love going back through all the songs and makes you realize how great they were / are still, you know.
Crazy times, crazy nights, crazy frog.
Indeed.
So, but the lads, here we are again.
Yeah.
So tell me, did you get seeing them on the reunion tour much?
I seen them. Yeah, I seen them at. It was when the first time they came back. They played in Botanic, or not Botanic. What do you call it?
Boucher.
Boucher Road. That's the one. Did
Yeah.
you go to that?
I was out of it.
Yeah.
Because I'd gone. See, that was one of the times when I realized, well, maybe music is good for a couple of days. I thought because the night before it was the Black Keys with the Foo Fighters.
Yeah. Right. Of course.
And the next day it was Florence and the Machine supporting the Stone Roses, and I was there thinking I shouldn't have started drinking on Thursday morning because I was off my face.
Yeah, it was one of them moments, wasn't it? Whenever the first came out, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's actually happening!" I'd waited like most of my life for this to happen, and then yeah, it was great.
What do you think of the people, the critics of Ian Brown's voice live?
I think he was okay at that gig, wasn't he? Well, you probably don't remember, but yeah, I'll tell you, he was okay at that gig. But like I have actually seen him a lot of times with the solo stuff, and I seen him. It's in George's Market or something. I seen a gig and he was awful. Like he was properly bad. I think he was just off his head. I think he was really stoned or something because he was out of key and like he was well off. Like, So I've seen that side of it, but you know, he's one of these vocalists. He has character in his voice, doesn't he? He's not technically very good, but he's brownie. That's why we love him.
And the thing is, as well, is that Stone Roses is one of these bands where it's a lot like Oasis and even Kasabian, where while you're going to see the band, it's really the atmosphere that makes the gig.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Brownie, what do you think of his new solo tune, First World Problems?
Yeah, it's funky. It's very. I guess he's recorded it all himself, all the instruments or something, hasn't he?
So they say, yeah.
Kind of like his first. I actually really like his first album, Unfinished Monkey Business.
I added some tunes on it
because he played most of the stuff, and now there's some really songs on it as well. No, he's just playing like a wee kid's keyboard in one of them or something. It's really bad, but yeah, it's pretty good. I watched the video today for the first time as well. It's interesting, like.
They're saying that there's a lot of, because if you subliminally analyze that video, they're saying that that's basically his way of telling the lads, I can do it myself, I don't need you.
Ah, well, he can't he?
He can, but what do you think about the Stone Roses are finished again?
Well, I thought the new songs were decent enough. But I wanted an album. I wanted more. You know, it was they brought out them two singles or whatever, or them two tracks, and promising, but then nothing. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if it was over. Like,
That's the thing that bothers me is that why they won't just say whether it's over or whether it's not.
yeah, I know. I don't know what's going on. Like,
Especially because we're at a time where there's seriously less than 10 cool bands out there. And we need the Stone Roses more than ever.
Yeah, no, totally. They were really on to something.
And plus, I love the fact that it brought back for a lot of people mod culture, because like I never really gave it up.
Yeah. Well, you'll always see an Ian Brown lookalike like in every corner of a village somewhere. Weatherspoon somewhere. Yeah. somebody walking around like they have rickets. Oh wait, he's just trying to be Ian Brown. He doesn't have a calcium deficiency.
And have you heard the big rumor about the super gigs that are coming next summer?
No, what's that?
Liam Gallagher, Richard Ashcroft, and Ian Brown.
Ah.
Like, if that's for real, can you imagine the chaos and the sesh?
Yeah, that'd be quite large, that one, wouldn't it? Like,
yeah, like you would actually have to stay home for days to rehearse your own voice.
Yeah. You would. Oh, and these rumors are for a gig here, yeah?
Croke Park.
Croke Park, yes.
Because the big word is that Liam's going to be doing a giant tour next year, because his tour for As You Were was massive.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why not go big? Go big, mate. That's how you do rock and roll, man. You're right.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Having the three lads on the stage.
I think that'll be the closest we're ever going to get to an Oasis reunion. Even though neither Brown or Ashcroft were in Oasis, but that'll be the biggest thing next to an Oasis reunion.
Yeah, well, I certainly can't see an Oasis reunion happening, no matter what people think. I don't think it's going to happen, really.
I think it'll happen one day, because like, money wise, the idiots try to turn it down.
How much money do you reckon? Like, they're talking stupid amounts, isn't it? Like,
but see, the weird thing is, I don't really think that the public are that arsed about Oasis getting back together, in as much as they want Liam and Noel back together.
Yeah. I just want a wee photograph of them together or something, you know, when they bump into each other at Tesco's. Shake hands. Shake hands, boys.
So it's like, if we could just at least get those two on tour, they could split the money between them.
They don't actually have to talk to each other either. If they just you mean solo on tour together?
Yeah,
it'd be ridiculous, but fun.
But the thing is, it's like, because we never really got the closure. Because at least with Stone Roses, if they're done, we've got the closure.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because that reunion tour went on from 2012 to 2017, and I seen it twice.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if they are done, it's a shame, but it's not like we didn't get the chance to say goodbye.
Yeah. Apologise, I've got a cough, so
cough away. Although, do you ever think Freddie Mercury Was ever
Never.
a time when he was like, you know what? I just cannot get rid of this cold. And they're like, well, how long have you had it? And he's like, 4 years. They're like, ugh.
Yeah,
Speaking of big, dumb, and great, have you got your top 5 prepared?
I have. I
Eh,
haven't. Only picked the top five. I only picked the order before I came on because it's hard to decide, and it's quite some might say a controversial list in a few ways, but we'll get to that.
but that's one of the things about the Stone Roses is that I forgot how few songs they actually had, and like you can listen to their entire back catalogue in about 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah. They have only a couple of songs that I don't really like, but the rest they're all fucking great.
Exactly. What have you got in there at number 5?
Number 5. Okay, so this is a B-side to Made of Stone. Going Down.
Ah,
It's because when I was like 15 or whatever, I started getting into them. I didn't have any. Well, obviously, only had one album, but I didn't have the album. But I had this compilation, the Complete Stone Roses. So it basically was just like a whole compilation of like singles and B-sides and then the album or whatever. And that's just really what got me into them. And I just always loved that song, Going Down, because it was really kind of jangly. Well, like a lot of their stuff, obviously, but it was very poppy and it appealed to the 15-year-old in me because I was 15. And but it was good. It still sounds great as well. Like, yeah.
well, in at number 5, I'm gonna go. And you were speaking of controversy.
Yeah.
My number 5 song is "All for One."
Okay.
And I gotta be honest. See, this is one of the things that I hate about Stone Roses fans is that my feeling is this was going to be part of a new album.
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
There was no way this song was ever going to meet expectations of fans because it's like because when it came out, people were on it within 4 minutes, and I love this. I always said to people, so you expected a song in 4 minutes with like 20 odd years of expectations,
Yeah.
and you expected that song to instantly be better than all of the Stone Roses songs that you've had decades to love.
Well, that's it. People really, ragged on it, like, and it's a good song. You know what I mean? It's just because they have so many class tracks, to live up to, and that was a good song. People give it a hard time for no good reason, really. Like,
Definitely. And I just thought that no, I loved this song when it came out, and it definitely took me like a listen or two to get into it because,
yeah,
as I say, with all the hype that went into it and the secrecy, you're expecting, well, this is going to be like the best song of all time, and it's actually just their 5th best of all time.
yeah. Well, apparently so.
Uh,
Yeah.
what have you got in at number 4?
Coming in at number 4 from Second Coming is Love Spreads.
Oh, yes.
The riff, man, that riff at the start, that's pure Squire, like just tanking it up. You ever listen to his other band, Seahorses?
Yeah.
Just real, it sort of reminds me of that kind of like thing. But the reason I really love that Love Spreads is just it's just class. It reminds me of like a kind of a wee bit Zeppelin-y or something. There's a real like rock and roll vibe to it, which is a wee bit different from like the a lot of the other stuff. Really, you know what I mean? And I always loved that track, like, and the video was cool at the time, from what I remember as well. Awesome.
Which version?
Oh, there was like one, like it's all like shot on like amateur cameras, like a devil running around or something. I don't know.
You should check out the version. I'm sure you've seen it. Have you seen the American version?
Yes, maybe. What?
It's when they're up at like an oil works thing.
Okay, right.
and Ian Brown's got this like Sherlock Holmes hat on, and the thing is, you can just see why, because despite the fact they had a fan base in America, you can just see why they were never destined to be big, because Ian Brown's just sort of staring into the camera and he's really giving it nothing.
Yeah, just do not. But that's what was good about them too. You know, they didn't play for the man. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And at my number 4, I'm going to go with one that a lot of people are kind of sick of, but I still love it every time I hear it. Waterfall.
Lovely.
And the problem with this song is these days, and not that I can blame people for it, but when they hear that, they go, "Oh, isn't that the JD Sports song?" And they go, "Oh, fuck."
Did they? Oh, really? I didn't know that. I had it for that JD Sports.
Oh, yeah. Because it was back when I think it was like 2003 or 2004 when the greatest hits of the Stone Roses came out.
Ah, yes.
And they made all these licensing deals with like Adidas and JD playing the music in store on a loop.
Right. Okay. It's not really a good song for that. Could have picked another one.
But what do you think of Waterfall?
I love it. It's a great song. Lovely. Really nice lyrics as well in it. Kind of paints a picture, if you like. You get a nice kind of poetic kind of thing going through the song. Yeah, it's nice. About seals and water.
And falling.
Yeah.
And also it's got probably John Squire's one of his greatest guitar solos anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Like, beautiful. Yeah, it's just a lovely track. Used to, in one of my old bands, we covered it and had to learn all the words, and that was a task. There is actually quite a lot of verses in it.
Yeah,
they're all different, but yeah.
The thing I love about Waterfalls, I love it when you're out in a pub and you've been on the piss for a couple of hours, and you just hear that sort of sustained note into like that.
Yeah.
And then chime sing Sunday morning today, and you just think, yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be all right.
This is gonna be. I'm not gonna need to take those pills for any 2 hours.
Yeah.
What have you got in it? Number 3.
Number 3. This wasn't on an album either. It was their first single on Silvertone. They're like the proper label that they joined after. They released like a couple of wee singles at the start of their career, maybe like Sally Cinnamon and all that sort of jazz. But number 3, Elephant Stone. And it's again, it's on that compilation that I had when I was a kid. I always just really loved it. Loved the bass in it as well, like classic Manny driving bass line. Yeah, just a really, really, really class track. Loved it.
You know, I hated Elephant Stone for years because I remember you used it in a song for a thing you edited for media studies.
Yeah, good memory there.
Oh no, because I remember we used to hear you editing it in the room while we were in the class.
Oh yeah.
And I used to hear that intro over and over again, and I used to be like thinking, "Oh my!"
So you were slobbering about us behind our backs. Yeah. Yeah. Be disappointed. I would have been disappointed if you hadn't, really, but yeah.
Like life ain't nothing but slobbering.
Indeed.
In at number 3, I'm gonna go with the epic "I Am the Resurrection."
Are you?
I am.
Yeah, that's great song.
The thing about this song, that this one I've really loved a lot these years, is because I can never remember the intro to it.
It's just the drums, isn't it?
Yeah, but I would always get it mixed up with like their other stuff. So I remember one day when I got home after having a few
10 whistle lessons.
Yeah, it was at flute class, you know, but it was really wobbly and I couldn't get a hold of it. And I just couldn't remember how this song started. So I remember just coming home and playing this, maybe 20 times in a row from start to finish.
Yeah.
And also, this is probably their best one to when you go see them live, because it's the real epic sing along. Then the band comes in, and that's when you realize how great the Stone Roses were as a band. Because it wasn't just because people go on about Ian Brown's voice, but they forget that, you know, Rennie's one of the greatest drummers ever. Manny's one of the best bass players ever. John Squire's one of the best guitar players of all time. This song is just brilliant.
Yeah. That's what people like about the Stone Roses as well. They're all like, they were a band, but they were also individuals, you know what I mean? Like, people had their, which was interesting, you know.
Who's your favourite Stone Roses member?
Manny.
Yeah, I love Manny.
Yeah, I love him. Like, he just he's really, really cool and good bass player, obviously. He just looks like he partied. You just love to party with him.
What did you got in number 2?
Number 2, Mersey Paradise.
Nice one.
Again, it wasn't. I don't think it was on the first album. It was like on that comp they had. But yeah, I think they played this live a lot anyway, didn't they? But the great guitar playing from Squire again, like just real lovely sort of tone to it. And lyrically, I don't know. It's absolute nonsense. Like, but you know, it doesn't matter, does it? Like, something about, and it's not even. I don't know. There's stuff about some. Half-eaten pike and all this. There's the water theme again. They must have loved all that. I think Ian Brown like fished a lot when he was a kid or something, so he wrote about all that sort of caper. But yeah, Mersey Paradise in at number 2.
I love that one. Well, at number 2, I'm gonna go with the almost unplayable "I Want to Be Adored."
Ooh.
And the reason why it is that, well, as I say, this song is unplayable. Like, I must have heard this song thousands of times. And even still, like, I was playing it just before we started this recording, and even then I was just like, oh my God, what a song. And plus, this always started off every gig.
Yeah. One of the best bass lines ever, really, isn't it? Like,
definitely. And plus, I was talking about this the other day. This is the song of theirs that sounds the most like the Doors.
All right.
You know, and I thought, because it is like Riders on the Storm, that sort of intro.
Yeah, well, the bass going on, yeah.
And I thought, did they do it on purpose? Because the fact that "I Want to Be Adored" is the title, and it also sounds the most like the Doors.
Yeah, there's a link. There's a link for you.
Perfect.
We, my first band, we used to play this as well, and my ma used to hear us rehearsing or whatever. I used to have the window open, and she thought I was singing "I Want to Be a Dog." Just that's there you go. But it wasn't. Yeah, indeed.
I mean, well, did you see Made of Stone, the film?
No, I didn't. Good.
Yeah, it's the documentary made about the reunion tour, but you could tell, like, the even when they got back together, like, the band just didn't get along.
Oh, was that the one the guy from This Is England did?
Yeah.
I've seen most of that. Yeah, it was good, I think.
But did you ever hear the rumours about Rennie quitting the band?
No.
See, well, Stone Roses, each member got paid a lot of money up front, like about 10 million quid.
Wow, yeah.
And Rennie quit the band before the Heaton Park gigs.
Yeah.
And he was told by the management, says, like, if you quit, okay, but you have to return everything we've paid you, plus we're going to sue you for an enormous amount of money. So it's either do the gigs or you're going to have the worst time of your life.
Yeah. Jeez.
And that's why him and Ian Brown just really never seem to get along.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that. Like, wonder why. Would you reckon it's just Rennie's real stubborn sort of guy? Like,
I think it's a mixture of. Rennie is when you hear these rumors that when they were making the Second Coming, and the producer guy said that he went away for 2 months because he had to go deal with, I think his mum had passed away or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So he went off to go, to that funeral, and then he needed to have time at home. And he said to the band, listen, you stay here and work on the album. When I come back, we'll start recording. And he said he came back after a 2 or 3 month break, and they had literally done nothing in the entire time except buy fireworks and buy go-karts and drive around the fields,
Yeah.
That's the problem with the working class. When we get money, we tend to blow it, whereas rich people, they just want to turn it into more money.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Stone Roses, even still with their Union tour.
Yeah, never leaves you. It would be disappointing if they split up. Feels like they have more in them, Mick.
What have you got in at number 2?
That was number 2.
I meant, what did you get at number
Seamless, huh? Number 1, this is controversial, possibly. It's a B-side. Another B-side. It's one of the B-sides, the She Bangs the Drums, a tune called Standing Here. It's I don't know, it stuck with me. It was my favourite song when I was younger, and it's one of those sort of songs. It's got a really class opening, like riff, like a bendy kind of guitar riff from Squire, and then the drums slowly kick in, the bass sort of rumbles along, and it's just really nice track. And then it has like a really mellow kind of part near the end, and it's just a really lovely track. And I was listening to it again before I did this, and I was like, yeah, number 1. Yeah.
But, for my number 1, and it's already been mentioned on your list, my favourite Stone Roses song of all time, Love Spreads.
Boo.
It's just, as I just said, everything about this. See, this is why I'm so stuck in the past, because everything about this song is just like the riff intro to the bass, to the cool way Ian Brown singing it, to the drums, just the atmosphere about it. Yeah. And then compare that to like Blink 182.
Yeah.
You think, and you go, what happened?
You can't really compare them though, like but yeah, I know, of course you're comparing Gold with their or Galaxy with, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you not think it's a bit Zeppelin-y, that Love Spreads? Kind of that kind of vibe.
I think it's the most Zeppelin-y Stone Roses. I think it's the most Led Zeppelin-y non-Led Zeppelin song ever. Yet at the same time, it doesn't sound like they're trying to copy.
Yeah, no, they've got their own vibe on it for sure.
And I gotta say, when I first really get into the Stone Roses, it was through compilations.
Yeah.
So I'd never actually listened to their albums separately.
Yeah.
And it was when we were coming home from Dublin earlier this year over the summer. It was like 2 a.m, and we're driving down the highway, and the highway's empty. And my mate put in the Stone Roses, the debut.
Yep.
And at full volume was playing I Wanna Be Adored, driving down the highway really fast. And I was just thinking, if we crash, this is the way to go.
Yeah, defo.
But the Stone Roses, I don't think they're gone, and I don't think people really understand what they've missed out on if they're not into them.
Well, I know they're one of them. I still feel like the Stone Roses are still one of those bands, aren't they, that people either get or they don't. They're not like, some people don't like, oh yeah, Stone Roses, yeah, they're alright. People, well, they don't, they're quite divisive in that way. Like, because people like think Ian Brown's awful, but that's you know what I mean? Yeah,
I think he's brilliant, and I'm loving the solo stuff, and I'm gonna go see him live whenever he announces the tour, and I'm also definitely gonna go see the Stone Roses again, because they really, despite the fact that they've got such few songs, I think they're one of the greatest bands of all time.
Yep, I can't disagree there. Like,
Okay, Paul, thanks very much. And I just remind you again about this watch along coming up. Really, really is something special. We really put a lot of effort into it. Really think you're going to enjoy it. But up next, we get Pat Buck. Pat Buck's going to be talking about all kinds of stuff about his real life issues with Ryback, about wrestling versus MMA, about the struggles of being a promoter, about Becky Lynch. Pat Buck, hello. So, hey, Pat Buck, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And it's always fun talking to someone who I know could instantly beat the living out of me within maybe 20 seconds.
Yeah, 20 is a good number.
It gives you time to draw back and really get a bicep curl and then just turn my teeth in water.
So what's going on?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got to just pest you with a few questions for a couple of minutes and then I'll let you go back to not talking to nerds like me.
All good.
So I got to ask you, the first one is, with you being a promoter and a wrestler and a trainer as well, can you actually still enjoy watching wrestling, or do you tend to super analyze everything?
Oh, yeah, that's hard to say, Good question, because I find myself a lot of times not enjoying wrestling because I do overanalyze it. I think it really depends on the situation. I mean, I still love it, and I love seeing when things go right. I like when seeing things are going great on all cylinders because, a lot of the stuff we see on TV, the performers are so gifted, the wrestlers are gifted, the production is great, but it may be missing storyline, or it might be missing, common sense. Other times, I'll watch an independent show and I'll be like, wow, this in-ring action's great, but the production's lacking. So it's hard sometimes. I always find some positive into it, but there are often times where I'm always watching wrestling with goggles on.
But it's just like, because you did a thing recently where you had Zeus in a show, and while that might not be okay with people like Meltzer, to people like me, it would be like, right, well, I'm going to that show because I want to meet Zeus.
I think maybe if Meltzer might have been for it. There's no, it's just a mix of. I try to. Independent wrestling's changed over the past couple of years. Where I've only been a promoter for, it's going 6 years, 7 years now. So the independent scene has changed so much where there's not a lot of really different big acts to book, and a lot of times, even what it used to be was there's a lot of former WWE talent you could book. There was people readily available, legends, Hall of Famers, people that just left the company. WWE doesn't really release that many people anymore, and if they do, most of the time it's for a reason where you're probably not going to book them on your show because of something. So I've ran out of a lot of stuff to book. A lot of the top independent acts, they're not really independent because they're under contract. So someone approached me with, what about Zeus? And I said, you know what, for having him on the poster and having him do a promo, I'm going to roll the dice. And I said this on the last interview I did with WrestleZone. I said, I don't know if it's going to work out, but it worked out great. A lot of people came out to meet Zeus. His line was the longest. He cut a crazy promo that, was just kind of boasting about his success in Hollywood. But it was one of those moments where this is so wild and weird, but it works. So booking Zeus was definitely a success.
And people can maybe make fun all they want, but at the end of the day, Zeus was in The Dark Knight, and that's possibly the greatest superhero film ever made. So that's a draw.
It's been a lot of stuff. I just think that it's, if there's someone that's done something with pro wrestling, you're never, there's a lot of merchandise collectors out there. Part of my business is not just wrestling shows. It's conventions for people that are looking to get their action figure or poster signed. When are you going to go to a wrestling event and meet Zeus? Chances are it's probably never going to happen again. Yes. So a lot of people came out with their posters and their SummerSlam memorabilia and a figure, and they get their autographs and they enjoy an entertaining promo. And Zeus got us a lot of publicity for that particular event. So sometimes you got to do some wacky things to get people's attention.
Speaking of wacky stuff, do you think that by adding comedy, that Chris Jericho went from, like, if you take 10 years ago, he was already like a future Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Now he's like beloved like Jack Nicholson.
I think, Jericho's one of those guys that he has figured out a way to be a top guy, be accessible, be still have the wherewithal and the skill set and the physical prowess to compete at a high level and be a top guy. And we're still talking about him in, not many top tier WWE guys, I feel like genuinely could come out of their comfort zone with WWE and be a success somewhere else. And he can in almost anything he touches. So, I think whatever he chooses to do, he kind of always keeps his ear to the ground and figures out what's going on in pro wrestling or pop culture and figures out a way to make it work. So, kudos to him.
And the best thing about him is he's actually genuinely a nice guy, because I happened to, and this is for real, I bumped into him in a street here in Belfast, and I was like, holy shit, that's Chris Jericho. And I spoke to him about Aerosmith for about 2-3 minutes, and I thought, because then I had nothing to watch on the network if I didn't like Jericho.
Good to hear.
Speaking of which, on the network, see, I'm a weird kind of wrestling fan in that I love it, yet I'm more into the entertainment side than I am the technical. What do you think of this opinion? Vince McMahon versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 19 is possibly the greatest example of sports entertainment there's ever been.
I can't remember exactly what transpired in that match. I remember at that time I was in college watching it. But I remember it being, there's got to be a mixed mosh of stuff on a show. I think that a lot of promotions cut themselves short, especially independent wise, because they only target one specific genre of wrestling. They either want to be completely comedy or completely in ring, or, and when I try to do a lot of shows, I try to find a little bit of something for everything. And, like I said, I don't remember exactly what went on in that match. I remember enjoying it and go, oh, this is a spectacle. I remember Piper coming in. I remember all this stuff. But, I just think it's important to have that stuff in pro wrestling. I can't watch a show where every match has, every single match has 10 to 15 false finishes. You lose my interest. You'll lose a lot of casual fans' interest. We need a couple of those matches. We need some car wrecks. We need some things that are entertainment value, some comedy, I like to mix it up.
And speaking of mixing stuff up, obviously these days the rise of women in the industry is incredible. And what do you think about the fact that Becky Lynch right now is possibly the genuine biggest draw in WWE, and not just because she's Irish?
I don't think she's there yet, but I think after last night and all that went on, she's on her path to becoming that. You could feel like that emotion. You could feel that the crowd is behind her. And going into this pay-per-view or Survivor Series on the network, whatever you want to say, that I actually think that more people are leaning towards Becky than they would a Ronda. Unfortunately, I just read online that I believe Becky has a concussion and might have been pulled from the pay-per-view. But she's doing everything. For some reason, the fans, and it's due to her performances, her promos, her work, her whatever she's put in, that organically she's become popular. And I think she is still on the rise, where I feel like a lot of other performers, both male and female, they'll choose them for certain spots and put them there. And the fans go, well, we don't really want this. The fans want Becky now. So they're riding the wave with her. And I just hope it continues. And I hope it doesn't stop short.
And weirdly, the best thing for her is that if the Survivor Series match has been cancelled, there's your WrestleMania match.
I hope so, but it just comes a question of good, not just so much good television writing, but overcoming hurdles and figuring out creative ways to keep interest. And sometimes it doesn't come down to the performer. Hopefully, wrestling is kind of wacky like that, especially all over in national promotions and everywhere where it's not organized, where they really don't have a concrete plan going forward. But I would hopefully, it would be nice that if companies were receptive to what their crowd wants, and the crowd wants Becky, so let's figure out a way while she's injured, much like they did with, when Steve Austin was injured, they figured out ways, keep him involved until he's good again. That's what they should do for talents that are being so well received. And I hope that happens.
Yeah. And speaking of the rise of stuff, and I know you've done a little bit of work with them in the past, What do you think about the resurgence of Impact Wrestling? Because for me personally, I think they're one of the best during one of the best eras that they've ever been.
I think they're definitely in the best place they've ever been. Unfortunately, the current crew and the powers that be there, the Scott D'Amore, Don Callis, Sanjay Dutt, I got to work with them heavily their last New York tapings. I got to be part of production. I got to run Gorilla, got to do a lot of cool things, time the show, time the pay-per-view, and be very involved in matches. But they have the leadership there. Unfortunately, what they're working with is that the people and the situations that happened beforehand, I think did a lot of damage. And that this crew, which is very smart, they're hardworking, have to almost play cleanup to all these years of mismanagement and poor choices. I hope they do it. I hope they can overcome it. And I'm curious to see what happens, because they're just in a situation where they're making the best of what they have. But if any crew can do it, that they have a good team there and the talent's good. I just hope that they're able to, keep the current talent pool they have, and that people don't, I hope that at some point that more things open up, like another network where they can get some flood of revenue, a stream of something to take things to another level.
And do you think that worldwide wrestling may actually be bigger than MMA?
It's hard. It comes in moments. Right now, I think you can kind of say that, because what sucks with MMA, I love MMA. I'm a huge MMA fan. I follow it, not religiously, but enough where I know what's going on. MMA is tough because there's only a handful of really top tier stars, and because you can't control the outcome, and MMA is not a work, you get your Conor McGregor's, you get your Nate Diaz's, you get your John Bones Jones, but the moment a lot of times, a lot of up and coming MMA fighters, if they have one loss or two losses, they almost become irrelevant to the MMA audience, and everyone's searching for the new star. I know UFC's in a thing now where they don't have a whole lot of stars. They don't have a lot of drawing power. They have DC. They don't have that many people that are willing to pay a substantial amount of money to watch a pay-per-view. Where wrestling, we can kind of control the outcomes, and there's always going to be some stars because, well, we control the outcome. So I think right now, wrestling, in my opinion, if you have a super fight, when they have Conor versus Khabib again, when they have whenever Brock comes back to fight DC, those things are going to be way bigger than anything wrestling can produce currently. However, long haul throughout the year, I would say WWE is a little bit higher than UFC, I think.
And especially I don't know if you know much about here, like in the UK or Ireland, but there's independent shows here playing the sold out like theaters and small arenas, and they're getting TV deals, and certain wrestlers from here are making six figures. Like, it's crazy.
Really? Oh, good for them. I should move there.
So here, I assume you've got the WWE Network, yeah?
Of course, yes.
So what was the first thing you ever watched once you got it all set up on the computer?
I think the first thing I tried to search for was to see if any of my Sunday Night Heat or Velocity matches were on there, and they weren't. So I don't know. I use the WWE Network in a weird way. I do it when I'm doing cardio, and like lately I've been on a big Kurt Angle kick. So I'll type in Kurt Angle, and I'll try to figure out. I'll go through. He's Sean versus Sean at WrestleMania 21. Let me watch that. Or I'll search different performers, pull up a match, and do cardio to that match, maybe a match or two, and that's kind of my system. So I don't know what the first thing I watched was. It was probably some really bad Nitro, I'm assuming.
I love watching the Nitros because we didn't get that over here for a lot of the time. I've got to ask this question, and this might be sort of pushing my luck a little bit, so no offense intended if it does. But I first became aware of you from the podcast with Ryback.
Sure.
According to people like Meltzer and stuff, there was a fallout. So just wondering, is that fallout made up, or is it still maybe not perfect?
No, there was a real fallout, and we were good friends for a long time. Dare I say best friends for a long time, and just things got a little. I was his agent for the independent scene, and things just got to be a little bit too much. and I called it quits. I couldn't handle handling his bookings and handling the podcast, and there was a lot of mixed viewpoints where I had to be. I work in professional wrestling full time, and to be honest, he doesn't. So I have a promotion. I have 2 schools. I have kids that I want a healthy relationship with all companies, that being WWE. There's a lot of stuff on that podcast that, I would have to go back and edit that were, friends of mine or people in positions that could, that I don't want to be associated with speaking negatively about. That was one of like maybe 10 or so things, but the fallout was real. He's chosen to never really talk about it, puts out his own, mixed messages about it, but it is what it is. And I'm much better off without any involvement with that.
And well, if it helps to make you feel good, his podcast went to the second.
So I've heard. So I've read Reddit before, and I love podcasting. I love doing all that stuff, but yeah, when it became unenjoyable and more of it, and when you have to go back and edit things about said about your friends, and it's just like, come on, man, it's supposed to be fun and lighthearted, not so. But yeah, so I've moved on.
Yeah. Well, just as we're coming up to the last few questions here, of course, starting up in about a month or 2, it's going to be WrestleMania season.
Sure.
So, do you have any predictions for matches that WWE might put on for WrestleMania 35?
I have absolutely zero clue. I'll tell you why too. Since Mania is going to be up here in my home state, if you will, New York, New Jersey, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for promoting shows. So I've yet to, and I'm willing to believe they probably don't know either. So I'm trying to figure out what the heck can I book on that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe even early Sunday morning to tap into WWE's crowd coming to town. So I would hope that things have been working out with AJ. I would hope that I just, at the end of the day, since I'm one of the boys, and I'll always consider myself that first and foremost, I just really hope that we start getting away from, the nostalgia mentality and really focus on the full-time guys that are there and, that really contribute. Unless, I'm not against, someone from the past working with someone current. I just don't want to see it kind of walled off where, all right, it's Mania. We have to go outside our normal talent roster to put on a pay-per-view. Like, focus internally, focus on some good storylines, and hopefully things will work out.
I totally agree with you. And one match that I can honestly see happening, and I know it kind of contradicts me just saying that I agree with you, but AJ Styles versus Rey Mysterio versus Daniel Bryan. And it's simply because, not that they suck, because I love them all, but they're clearly not what they once were. So by putting all 3 of them in the ring at the same time, it would maybe cover up the fact that they might need to take a rest spot or whatever.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, any of those combinations of matches would be great, and it's tough too. I think the biggest thing that works against people in WWE is almost overexposure. Where if we see someone week after week, we kind of lose we can't miss you if you're not gone. So the fact that the talent's there all the time, we take them for granted, and then they start looking outside the box of bringing in these different combination of things. But I hope it works out, and they seem to know what they're doing, and I'm sure it'll be a good show.
And the final question that I've got to ask you, and this is maybe the most important question that you could ever imagine being asked. So your whole fan base rides on this answer.
Okay.
The Spice Girls are back. Who's your favorite Spice Girl?
I think I had to, being of a redheaded nature, I believe I would have to lead towards, is it Ginger Spice? Is that correct? Is that the name of one of them? I would have to lead towards her. Affinity, being a redhead, I'm going to go in that path and support another fellow redhead.
Well, I'm sorry. The correct answer was Baby Spice.
Okay. Well, my wife's a blonde, so maybe I should have picked Baby Spice.
Well, here, Pat, this was brilliant. and it was amazing to talk to you. And thanks so much. And if you ever meet Disco Inferno, I've got a lot of heat with him through his podcast because I edit for their YouTube channel. Tell him Hughezy's coming.
I sure will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pat. And up now, finally, as I've told you, it's time for that watch along with Joe Feeneny. Joe Feeneny, hello. Okay, so Joe, thanks for coming back on.
Absolutely.
And we're going to do a watch along here for one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. You're a big fan of it too. And the match people want to know, it's Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. So, Joe, before we get started, why don't we plug your social media there?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at JFFEENEY3RD, JFENEY3rd on Twitter, the Creative Control Network, which, of course, hosts such great shows as It's Hughezy Hello and Worth Reminds with David Radigan, The Four Sportsmen, 69 Minute Orgasm with Joel Gertner, What a Russian Road Warrior Animal, and some I'm sure I'm forgetting right now. You go to the CC Network 1 on Twitter, and you can keep up with all the news about those shows, links, and all that fun stuff. And Creative Control Pro Wrestling Tee stores at prowrestlingtees.com/CC with Joe Feeneny.
Okay, and I just want to say thanks again for taking the time out of your anniversary dinner to spend watching this long match. So we're going to cue it up. We're going to press click now and we'll watch along. Right?
All right.
Okay, there's a broad kick. And 1, 2, 3. So, Joe, thanks for coming back on there. And I had a great time watching it with you. Why don't you plug your social media?
Yeah, again, it's actually, now that you mentioned watch alongs, you can check out the Patreon at patreon.com/Joe Feeneny, where right now myself, MLJ, and Justin Henry do watch alongs a few nights a week. We haven't, seen a match as great as Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus from WrestleMania yet, but hopefully we'll get there at some point. Patreon.com/Joe Feeneny, JFENEY3rd on Twitter, the CC Network 1 on Twitter, and prowrestlingtees.com/CC with Joe Feeneny. That's about it for the plugs.
Didn't I tell you it was epic? Don't forget to follow on social media. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and leave a comment. Don't forget to follow and contact everyone else who's been on the show. Let them know you like their appearance. See you next time. It's Hughezy. Bye-bye.